Beloved, your name was whispered in heaven before you ever pressed play. This is not content. This is not coincidence. This is a divine appointment, heaven-timed, angel-assigned, spiritually sealed. You may have stumbled here through a scroll, a suggestion, or a search, but the truth is, the Spirit of the living God has been orchestrating this moment long before your heart even knew what to ask for. You didn't arrive here by mistake. The ache in your chest, the questions swirling in your spirit, the invisible weight pressing on your shoulders, none of it is random. Something deeper has been happening beneath the surface, and heaven could no longer stay silent. For too long, you have felt the weariness of walking while unseen. You've been battling private storms while trying to hold a public smile. You've wondered if anyone really understands how tired you are, not just in your body, but in your soul. The confusion, the spiritual heaviness, the quiet desperation. Heaven has heard it all, and now Archangel Michael has been dispatched. Yes, dispatched. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, but literally sent to war on your behalf. Psalm 34:7 says, "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them." Even now Michael stands near. You may not see him, but you've felt the shift. That sacred stillness pressing around you, that unexpected peace beginning to settle, even as these words enter your ears. That's not imagination, that's the covering of heaven. This is not just a video, this is not just a voice. This is heaven interrupting your routine because something sacred is about to unfold. You've been watched, not by man, but by heaven. Watched as you tried to keep going while carrying what should have crushed you. Watched as you sowed prayers with trembling hands and waited for answers that didn't seem to come. Watched as you continued to show up, even when your hope was threadbare and your heart felt hollow. You didn't know it then, but your endurance was being recorded in the books of remembrance. Every tear, every silent prayer, every whispered, "God, I can't take another step," none of it was lost. And now the time has come for a shift. Heaven has chosen this moment to intervene, not with vague encouragement, but with divine clarity and supernatural protection. Archangel Michael, the chief warrior of God's heavenly host, has been assigned to your case. Why? Because your calling is too great to leave unguarded. Your soul too precious to be left exposed. Your destiny too important to remain buried under confusion and fear. Beloved, you are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not late. You are chosen, and chosen ones are never left defenseless. That's why the enemy has fought you so fiercely. That's why the delays have been so long, the betrayals so deep, the warfare so invisible yet overwhelming. But heaven is lifting the veil now, and Michael is here to remind you, you were never walking alone. You may have thought the silence meant abandonment, but silence can also mean strategy. You may have felt unguarded, but you were covered by angels you never saw. You may have assumed your pain disqualified you, but in heaven's eyes, it marked you for deeper purpose. This is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a divine unraveling, a heavenly revealing, a holy intervention that will shift everything you thought was stuck, and you didn't have to beg for it. It was assigned by grace. Archangel Michael whispers now, "Beloved one, I have seen what they tried to do to you in secret. I have stood between you and the arrows meant to take you out. I have held back what should have crushed you. And now I bring word, the shift has begun. There are moments in life where heaven leans in, and this is one of them. What you are hearing now is not just encouragement. It is a command, a heavenly signal, a divine disruption. Your suffering is not meaningless. Your confusion is not permanent. Your longing is not wasted. God saw it all and has now declared, it's time for healing, and it's time for protection. But listen, this is not healing in small measure. This is restoration. This is not protection for a day. This is covering for your next season. So don't treat this moment lightly. You didn't click this by luck. You were led here. And the moment you chose to stay, something began shifting in the spiritual realm. Heaven recognized your attention as faith. And now faith is opening doors, breaking chains, and silencing the enemy's accusations against your name. You are being marked right now for divine healing and protection, spirit, soul, and body, emotional, physical, generational, supernatural. You are not watching this. You are being watched over. Michael stands in authority, and he declares, this one is chosen, this one is covered, this one will not fall. Now, take a moment. Breathe. Let the truth sink in. You are not here by accident. You are not a mistake. You are not late to your breakthrough. You are right on time for heaven's move. And you are not alone. If this word is stirring something inside you, whisper even now, I receive it. I am covered. I am chosen. Let that declaration rise from your lips, even if your faith feels small, because heaven doesn't need loud faith, just real faith. And beloved, this is real. Archangel Michael has been sent not to frighten you, but to fight for you. His sword is drawn, his wings are wide, and his eyes are fixed on the one who bears your name. You are not unseen, you are not unguarded, and you are not unhealed. Stay with me. What's about to be revealed will make sense of everything that's been pressing on your heart. The mystery, the delays, the strange heaviness, it's all about to unfold. But first, let the truth settle here. You were handpicked, you were preserved, you were guided to this very word. And heaven is not done speaking. Let the next words draw you deeper, because they hold the key to why the battle was so intense, and why the breakthrough will be undeniable. If you believe Archangel Michael is guarding you tonight, type "protected" in the comments as your declaration of faith and covering. Beloved, that exhaustion in your soul, it wasn't just stress. It wasn't just hormones, or bad luck, or another hard season. What you've been feeling, what's been pressing down on your chest, tugging at your thoughts, haunting your rest, it has been warfare. It's been spiritual, targeted, timed, and it was never meant for you to carry alone. You've been walking through days where the sky felt too low, where even small tasks felt heavy, where joy seemed like something other people got to feel but not you. You've smiled through the ache. You've prayed while unsure if heaven heard. You've kept going when everything inside you screamed to stop. But heaven saw you, and heaven is speaking now. You didn't imagine the pressure. You weren't overreacting. The invisible burdens you've been carrying, those whispers of betrayal, those delays that drained your energy, those nights filled with unspoken fear, those were attacks. Stealthy, quiet, cleverly disguised attacks against your calling, your voice, your very being. The enemy wasn't just after your emotions. He was after your momentum. Because if he could slow you down, if he could make you question your value, he thought he could cause you to stop altogether. But you didn't stop. You're still here. And that alone is proof that the darkness didn't win. What looked like anxiety was actually a spiritual assault on your destiny. What felt like random discouragement was actually a calculated attempt to isolate you, so the voice inside you would fade before the promise ever arrived. But heaven intercepted. Michael stood watch. You didn't know it, but someone stood between you and what was meant to destroy you. The reason it didn't break you, the reason you made it through the storm even though you felt like you were barely crawling, is because Archangel Michael never left his post. The word says in Isaiah 41:10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." And beloved, that promise wasn't a metaphor, it was real. While you sat on the edge of your bed wondering if you could make it another day, God was already assigning angels to your side. While you felt like your tears were wasted, heaven was storing them in remembrance. While your mind whispered, "Maybe I'm the problem," heaven shouted, "This one is marked for protection." There were spirits sent to isolate you, yes. Forces that studied your bloodline, looked for patterns of weakness, tried to stir rejection, comparison, fear, and discouragement. The attack was designed to be subtle. That's why it wore the mask of exhaustion. That's why it felt like just another bad season. But in reality, it was strategic warfare meant to silence the one heaven has chosen. You. You are the one hell has tried to exhaust, confuse, and isolate, because you are the one heaven has called, covered, and chosen. Michael says, "I have stood beside you when no one else understood. I have drawn my sword when the enemy approached in shadows. And I have declared, this one belongs to the King." So even though it felt like you were walking alone, you weren't. Even when no one checked in. Even when no one saw the fight behind your smile. Even when your prayers came out more like sighs than sentences, you were never unguarded. You were never forgotten. What others didn't see, heaven recorded. What the enemy hoped to use to destroy you, God is about to use as the very reason he lifts you. This is not the end, beloved. This is the reinforcement. Heaven is not just sympathizing. Heaven is moving, and you are not standing in weakness. You are standing in survival that became strength. You survived what others didn't. You stood through winds that were meant to shatter you. And now, the reward of protection is being multiplied. Release the guilt, the pressure, the shame for not being strong enough. You were never meant to be strong alone. You were meant to be shielded. Michael says, "The weight you carried was never yours to hold. Lay it down now, for heaven is lifting it." You've been carrying fear. Lay it down. You've been carrying wounds from betrayal. Lay them down. You've been carrying the lie that you have to hold everything together, that if you fall apart, everything will collapse. Beloved, lay it down. God never asked you to carry what only He was meant to hold. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are not faithless for being weary. You are human, wrapped in divine favor, and right now, that favor is surrounding you like armor. If this word speaks to what's been pressing on you lately, don't scroll past it. Whisper aloud or type in the comments, "I will not carry this alone. I am covered." Let your agreement activate what heaven has already assigned. Let your surrender make space for reinforcement. Because now comes the shift. Now comes the lightness. Now comes the reinforcement from heaven itself. Even now, angels are being repositioned around you, not just to defend, but to restore. The fog that's been clouding your thinking is lifting. The confusion is breaking. The isolation is ending. You are not being left behind. You are being pulled forward. The ache in your chest, the one that feels like pressure without explanation, is being lifted. The unrest in your sleep, the tossing, the sudden wake-ups, the heart racing at 3 a.m. is being silenced by peace, because the battle that tried to kill your hope has been seen, and it ends here. Michael declares, the enemy's whisper will not outlast heaven's decree. Beloved, heaven is reinforcing you, not just for today's peace but for tomorrow's purpose. What once tried to crush you will become the evidence that God's hand was always on your life. And now begins the unraveling of the lies. Now begins the release of what you were never meant to carry. Now begins the reintroduction of the real you. No longer weary, no longer hidden, no longer heavy, just covered, just chosen, just healed. Beloved, something stronger than fear has been rising inside you, and heaven is about to confirm it, in ways you never imagined. Stay close. What's coming next is not about what broke you, it's about what's being rebuilt. This is about your son. Yes, your son. His whispered prayers, those soft petitions he made when no one was listening, have echoed louder in heaven than your loudest cries. What you thought was silence in your life has been covered by a sound far more powerful than anything the enemy could speak. The sound of a child praying for a parent. Heaven has heard it. Archangel Michael has responded. And you, beloved, have been surrounded by fire. You thought you were surviving on your own strength. You thought you were barely holding it together. You believed your prayers had grown too weak. But what you didn't see, what the enemy never wanted you to know, is that while you were growing quiet in your despair, someone else was lifting your name like incense to the throne of God. A son, maybe the one you birthed, maybe the one you raised, maybe the one you mentored. Maybe the one who sees you as spiritual covering. Either way, his voice reached heaven, and heaven answered. Psalm 102:17 says, "He will respond to the prayer of the destitute. He will not despise their plea." God did not ignore him. In fact, those prayers became bricks, one by one, layer upon layer, until around your life rose a wall, not made of stone but of supernatural flame. Michael says, "I have stood with drawn sword at the edge of this wall. The enemy approached but could not pass. What should have pierced you stopped short. What should have broken through never made contact, because someone else was praying when you had no words left to say." Beloved, you are not standing today because you were always strong. You are standing because someone else chose to believe when your heart was too weary. You are standing because a child, your child, entered into spiritual maturity without even knowing the full weight of what they were doing. They just knew you were in pain. And they lifted your name, every sigh, every sentence, every tear-soaked whisper into their pillow. Heaven caught it all. The Spirit says, "You have not been walking through fire. You have been walking behind fire. The flame has not consumed you, it has protected you." And here's what hell never anticipated: that your son's prayers would do what years of strategy could not. That love would create the very shield the enemy could not penetrate. That God would use the heart of a child to reverse the generational tide. You see, there were generational wounds, real ones, pain passed down like inheritance, shame that lingered in the DNA, cycles of fear, poverty, insecurity, spiritual silence. But not anymore. Because when your son called your name in the Spirit, heaven broke the curse line and rerouted the bloodline. This is bigger than you thought. This is not just about your healing, it's about your family's redemption. The enemy wanted your collapse to mark the next generation with bitterness. But heaven has marked this generation with intercession. The wall of fire is not symbolic. It is literal in the spirit. A living defense of glory. Michael stands by it. The angels reinforce it. Your enemies recognize it. This is why some people suddenly went quiet in your life. Why certain friendships fizzled. Why strange resistance has fallen silent. It wasn't rejection, it was divine repulsion. The fire rejecting every spirit that couldn't pass the purity of prayer. And the prayer that built it, it didn't come from fame, it didn't come from platform, it came from your son's mouth when no one was watching. Beloved, you are not alone, you were never abandoned. And now, not only are you covered, you are rising in the very space the enemy tried to take. There is something holy about this kind of prayer. It doesn't come with fancy words. It doesn't require long sessions. It just needs honesty. And your son gave it. Even if he's never said it out loud to you, even if he didn't know how deep your wound was, he felt it, and he spoke it, and God heard. Now the flame stands. Now the angels gather. Now the covering intensifies. Michael says, the fire will not only protect, it will purify. It will drive out every remnant of the attack. It will restore what was burned in former seasons, and it will blaze a path for your next step. Beloved, let this truth melt the lie that you've been forgotten. You have been remembered by God, by heaven, and by your Son. Heaven is telling your story differently than you are. You say, I barely made it. Heaven says, you were preserved. You say, I've been alone. Heaven says, you've been covered. You say, I don't know how I'm still standing. Heaven says, because someone built a wall around you with fire and faith. If this word is piercing something deep in you right now, don't ignore it. Pause and say aloud, I receive the fire of protection. I honor the prayers that kept me. Or write in the comments, I am standing because someone prayed. You're not just agreeing, you're activating what heaven already sealed. Beloved, this is the moment you realize your story is not just yours. Your survival is the fruit of a seed you didn't even plant. But God is so faithful. He honors even the seeds sown on your behalf, and now that the wall is in place, your next season will be built behind it. No longer exposed, no longer under siege, no longer carrying alone, because someone fought for you, because heaven backed them, and because the wall of fire is not just defense, it's destiny. And if that prayer could shield you, what more will happen when heaven answers it fully? Stay close. Because the answer is already moving toward your door. You were exhausted. Not because you were weak, but because you were carrying what only heaven was meant to lift. Beloved, you've blamed yourself far too long for the heaviness, for the delays, for the confusion you couldn't explain. But what if I told you it wasn't your fault? What if I told you the exhaustion wasn't laziness? It was resistance. What if I told you the burnout wasn't failure? It was warfare. There is a hidden battle that's been raging behind your exhaustion, and heaven has watched long enough. You weren't just tired, you were targeted. You weren't just stressed, you were under siege. And the lie the enemy whispered, you're just not strong enough, was never truth. It was a tactic. Because if the enemy could convince you that your burden was your fault, he could isolate you. And if he could isolate you, he could wear you down before the breakthrough came. But not anymore. Today, heaven reveals the truth. This battle wasn't yours to carry. This weight was never yours to hold. And this silence was never your punishment. It was preparation. Archangel Michael has been standing at the edge of the war zone you didn't know you were walking through. And now, the order has been given. Step in, speak out, lift what's too heavy. Beloved, you are not failing. You are fighting, and you were never meant to fight alone. The exhaustion you felt has roots deeper than the natural. This isn't just emotional tiredness. This is spiritual exhaustion from years of unseen conflict. But listen to this. Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Stillness is not surrender. It's trust. It's the moment you finally let God do what only He can do. And right now, even as you hear this, the weight is beginning to lift. Not because you're working harder, but because you're being rescued. Archangel Michael whispers, I have fought in realms you could not see. I have stood between you and the forces that tried to dismantle your identity. And now I come bearing relief. You have been in a season of confusion, where your thoughts felt scattered, your spirit felt sluggish, and even your prayers felt muted. But it wasn't because God turned away, it was because the battle behind the curtain was real. Hell saw your calling, and that calling made you a threat. You weren't targeted because of your mistakes. You were targeted because of your assignment. You are chosen, beloved, and chosen ones carry presence. Chosen ones shift atmospheres. Chosen ones attract warfare not because they're weak, but because they're effective. And the more you pressed forward, the more hell pushed back. But it ends here. Michael says, the assignment against you has expired. The pressure was real, but it failed. The heaviness was allowed, but only for a moment. Now, heaven takes the weight. You've carried guilt for slowing down. You've wondered why you can't get back to the energy, the hope, the clarity you used to have. You've questioned whether you're still called, still useful, still chosen. And the Spirit of God says, you have not been disqualified. You've been preserved. Preserved for such a time as this. Preserved through battles that would have broken others. Preserved through spiritual warfare that never made it to the surface because Michael blocked it before it hit your life. This is why you woke up with heaviness for no reason. This is why you felt grief when nothing was lost. This is why your dreams have been strange, your heart unsettled, your progress halted. Because there has been a war behind the scenes, and you were not the cause of it. You were the target of it. But listen carefully. Being targeted by darkness means being identified by heaven. Hell doesn't fight those it doesn't fear. And it feared you. Not for who you were, but for who you were becoming. And now, the shift begins. You are not responsible to fix what you never caused. You are not called to carry what angels have been assigned to lift. You are not meant to war alone, when the hosts of heaven have been dispatched on your behalf. Even now, angels are repositioning. Even now, the atmosphere is changing. Even now, the heavy fog is starting to break and clarity is beginning to return, because heaven has stepped in. Michael says, lay the weight down. This burden is no longer yours. If this word is confirming something deep in your spirit, speak it aloud. I refuse to carry what heaven has already claimed. I receive relief. Or declare in the comments, the burden lifts now. I am not alone. This agreement matters, not because your words control heaven, but because your yes allows heaven to fully move. You were not made to carry this weight, and now you don't have to. The hidden battle is being exposed. The lie of you're not enough is being silenced. The heaviness that wrapped around your chest is being peeled away. And what's left? Peace. Real peace. Not because everything has changed yet, but because you've been changed. The one who fought beside you is now lifting what the enemy tried to bury you under. Beloved, breathe again. You are not drowning, you are rising. And the one who stands beside you is not leaving until the battle is fully won. Heaven is here, Michael is near, and the weight is gone. That ache in your chest, that fatigue that lingers even after you sleep, that restlessness at night, the shortness of breath, the strange pressure on your shoulders, the tightness in your back. Beloved, they are not just physical symptoms, they are spiritual alerts. Your body has been speaking, and heaven has been listening. What the doctors couldn't find, what the scans couldn't name, what the routine tests couldn't explain, God already knew. Because the root wasn't only in your body, it was in your spirit. You thought it was stress. You thought it was just aging. You thought maybe you were just tired from doing too much. But heaven sees deeper. This is not just about health. This is about warfare. Because the enemy, when he could not break your mind, went after your body. And when he could not steal your voice, he tried to silence your energy. And when he could not touch your spirit, he tried to oppress your flesh. But today, beloved, the Spirit of the living God says, enough. Romans 8:11. If the Spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, then he who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through his Spirit who dwells in you. That's not just a promise of future resurrection. That's a present reality. God is not only interested in healing your emotions or calming your fears, he's here to restore your body. Yes, the cells, the organs, the heartbeat, the breath. God heals it all. He is the God of resurrection life, and he is not finished with your physical strength. Archangel Michael has come near to deliver this message. The battle against your body has been intense, but heaven has seen it, and the healing has already begun. The fatigue that you couldn't shake, it wasn't laziness, it wasn't failure, it was the weight of spiritual resistance clinging to your physical frame. The enemy tried to wear you out through unseen pressure, interrupting your sleep, quickening your heartbeat without cause, creating tension in your stomach, your neck, your limbs, because he wanted you to give up. He thought if he could weaken your body, he could weaken your faith. But heaven has overturned that strategy, because now the Spirit is moving through you, not just around you. Michael says, healing begins in the spirit but touches the cells. This isn't temporary relief. This is a divine reset. It begins on the inside, in your spirit where faith has been rising, in your soul, where peace has been rekindling, and now, it reaches your body. Right now, the Holy Spirit is quickening what felt dead. Your nervous system is coming back into alignment. Your immune system is receiving rest. The inflammation is decreasing. The tightness is loosening. Your body is responding to the presence of the one who made it. You are not imagining this, beloved. You are being restored. Those nights where your sleep was broken without reason, that wasn't insomnia, that was warfare. Those moments where anxiety gripped you out of nowhere, leaving your chest tight and your thoughts racing, that wasn't just emotion, that was a spiritual arrow. But now, Michael declares, the arrows have been intercepted. The poison is leaving, and the fire of heaven is cleansing your system. Yes, healing flows, not just in your emotions, but in your bones, not just in your thoughts, but in your cells. You will wake up differently. You will breathe deeper. You will move lighter. You will think clearer. Because heaven does not just touch the spirit, it transforms the body. This is not wishful thinking. This is supernatural healing. Beloved, if you've been nodding through this message, feeling the truth land in your chest, then pause now and agree. Say it aloud. My body is not abandoned. Healing is here. Or write in the comments, I receive healing from the inside out. Let your agreement activate what has already been set in motion. Because what the enemy tried to label as weakness, God is now turning into a testimony of strength. The very areas where you've suffered longest will be the very areas where His glory will shine brightest. That aching joint, that sleepless pattern, that unexplained fatigue, heaven is not ignoring it, heaven is answering it. Michael says, the body that endured the battle will now house the miracle. You are not being healed for comfort only, you are being healed for purpose. Your body is needed for the next season. Your breath is needed to carry the next word. Your strength is being renewed not so you can go back, but so you can go forward. And this healing, it will not be shallow, it will be full, it will be layered, it will begin with rest, then peace, then strength, then overflow. You will feel it in the stillness of your rest, in the clarity of your thoughts, in the fire of your worship, in the steadiness of your breath. You will know something shifted, because it already has. The Holy Spirit does not announce what heaven has not already released. Beloved, what your body carried in pain, heaven now floods with restoration, and where your organs once echoed fatigue, now your bones will sing with life. He will give life to your mortal body. Not later, now. And this is just the beginning. The healing has already started. It's already flowing through you now. Let it rise. Let it flow. You don't have to force it. You just have to receive it. The same power that raised Jesus from the grave now pulses through you. Let the healing continue, beloved, because what's ahead requires your full strength, and heaven is making sure you rise ready. What touched your grandmother? What haunted your father? What whispered through your bloodline, generation after generation, ends with you tonight. Beloved, this is not just about your healing, this is about the deliverance of an entire lineage. You didn't just inherit eye color, hair texture, or facial features. You inherited patterns, unspoken cycles, spiritual strongholds masked as personality, temperament, or just the way our family is. But heaven has seen it, and heaven has had enough. The anxiety that lingers without cause, the betrayals that repeat themselves in every generation, the relational brokenness, the addiction that seems to hide behind every celebration and every grief. The cycles of poverty. Just when one step is taken forward, something yanks the family 2 steps back. These are not coincidences, they are assignments. But Michael has been dispatched, and the sword has been drawn. Galatians 3:13 says, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us, which means the curse has already been broken at the cross. But tonight, heaven is enforcing that verdict in your bloodline. Archangel Michael says, I have seen the pattern, I have traced the inheritance of pain, and I now sever what once seemed unstoppable. The assignment ends here. Beloved, you are not cursed, but your bloodline has been under siege, not because of something you did, but because of what you carry. You are the one chosen to break it. You are the one picked by heaven to interrupt what hell assumed would continue. This is why the warfare against your life has been relentless. This is why you felt like you've carried the weight of 5 lifetimes on your shoulders. Because you have. You are the breaker. The first in the family to say no more. The first to seek God beyond religion. The first to forgive what others refuse to name. The first to see the invisible chains and to ask heaven to cut them. And heaven says yes. The chains are falling now, not because of your strength, but because of your surrender, not because of your lineage, but because of your obedience. Michael declares, the line of pain stops here. The inheritance of sorrow is exchanged now for an inheritance of peace. This is generational redemption. You are not just being healed, you are being repositioned. You are standing in the gap for the ones who came before you and the ones who will come after. What once traveled freely through your family is now being blocked by fire. The same depression that touched your mother's tears will not reach your daughter's dreams. The same financial bondage that followed your father's footsteps will not haunt your son's hands. The same betrayal that echoed in broken marriages will not pass through your household again. The curse stops here, right now. If this word is speaking directly to your spirit, pause and declare it. The chain is broken. Say it aloud, type it in the comments, whisper it into the atmosphere. The chain is broken. Because your agreement matters, not for God's sake, but for yours. Your yes makes room for heaven to move without resistance. Michael is not only cutting, he is planting. Because where the curse ends, legacy begins. You are not just surviving, you are setting a new standard. Your ceiling will become your children's floor. The prayers you pray today will build a platform for miracles they will walk in without the fight you had to face. Your surrender is constructing spiritual shelter for your descendants. And the battles you win now will become stories of protection, favor, and faithfulness that echo through your bloodline. You've asked God to heal you, but He is doing more than that. He is healing everything connected to you. He is rewriting your family's history from this point forward. He is putting your name on a new scroll, one labeled Lineage of Freedom. And where curses once passed, blessings will now flow. Psalm 112:2 says, "Their children will be mighty in the land. The generation of the upright will be blessed." This is your promise. This is your moment. The enemy thought he had a legal right to touch your family, but heaven has overturned it. The blood of Jesus is enough, and the verdict is final. Michael says, "Where curses tried to speak, I now silence their voice. Where pain tried to echo, I now release peace. And where the enemy tried to plant fear, I now establish joy. And you, beloved, you are the doorway. You are the wall, the turning point. The hinge on which the door of blessing swings wide open for generations to come. So don't be afraid of being different from your family. Don't fear breaking away from patterns others accepted. You're not dishonoring their past, you're redeeming their future. You are not a mistake, you are a key. And now, what once ran in your family now runs from your family. Shame runs, addiction runs, poverty runs, fear runs, and peace enters, healing enters, joy enters, provision enters, divine protection enters. This is the turning point in the story of your bloodline. Let heaven finish what it has started, and let this truth echo as the curse breaks completely. You were the one chosen to end it, so that your children would never have to survive it. The attack against your family line ends here, and what's about to begin will rewrite everything that came before you. Stay close, beloved. The blessing has only just begun. You thought no one saw the tears you cried at night. But heaven did. Not one slipped past unnoticed. Not one fell to the ground without being gathered. Psalm 56:8 says, "You have kept count of my tossings, put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book?" Beloved, this verse is not poetic imagery, it is heavenly truth. Every tear you wept in silence, every moment you turned your face away so no one would see the pain, was seen, counted, and recorded. And now, the book is being opened. Archangel Michael whispers, "Heaven has not forgotten. Heaven has not looked away. The sorrow that stained your pillow has soaked the ground for harvest. You've cried in secret. You've endured without recognition. You've smiled through betrayal and stood tall through loss. But those tears weren't signs of weakness. They were seeds. The sorrow that came with no explanation. The ache you couldn't put into words. The nights where you whispered, "God, do you even see me?" Yes. He saw. Yes. He recorded. Yes. He remembered. Heaven has kept every tear, and now the time has come for the remembrance to become reward. Michael says, "There is a book sealed with your name on it, and within its pages are moments no one else saw." Heaven is turning the pages now, and your chapter of sorrow is giving way to joy. You need to hear this. Nothing was wasted, not the time, not the loss, not the heartbreak, not even the mistakes. God doesn't throw away broken things, He redeems them, and He redeems with interest. You've been asking why it hurt so deeply, why it lasted so long, why you had to walk through seasons that felt like abandonment. But beloved, the depth of your pain has prepared the depth of your breakthrough. The deeper the ache, the deeper the restoration. The greater the silence, the louder the answer. The longer the night, the brighter the dawn. Your pain has prepared the soil. And now comes the harvest. You didn't suffer in vain. You didn't endure in vain. You didn't cry in vain. Those tears watered something in the spirit. And now, something is breaking open beneath the surface. The ground that once felt hard and dry is softening. The walls that once felt unmovable are trembling. The wounds that once pulsed with pain are beginning to close, because heaven has responded. Your name has been spoken in the courts of heaven. The angels have leaned in. Michael has drawn near, and the oil of healing is being poured, not just over your body, but over your emotions, your memories, your identity. God is not just healing what happened, He is healing how it felt, because some wounds didn't come from physical blows. They came from words, from silence, from betrayal, from abandonment. But beloved, heaven was never indifferent. Every time you were overlooked, God took note. Every time you were dismissed, heaven recorded it. Every time you were shamed, angels stood watch. And now it's shifting. Michael says, heaven's gavel has struck the altar. The verdict is, they have endured, now they will be rewarded. You endured what tried to crush you, and now the restoration begins. Emotional healing is rising like the tide, not forced, not fabricated, but holy, real, gentle, persistent. Like water over stone, it is washing the layers of pain away. Your soul is being reintroduced to joy. Your heart is learning how to feel again, without fear. Your spirit is rising, not in panic, but in peace. And where shame once hovered, testimony will now sing. You will not be known by what you suffered. You will be known by what God restored. The very moments you thought disqualified you, God is turning into the evidence of His glory. The tears that once broke you are becoming oil for healing others. Because when heaven keeps record of your pain, it doesn't do so to punish. It does so to redeem. You've carried sorrow, but joy is returning. You've carried silence, but now your voice is awakening. You've carried grief, but now beauty is rising from the ashes. You've carried fear, but love is casting it out. If this word is wrapping around your heart like a soft blanket, pause and receive it. Say aloud, none of my tears were wasted, my healing begins now. Or comment in faith, heaven remembers, I am healing. Let your soul agree with what heaven has already declared. This isn't emotional hype. This is holy remembrance. The angels have kept watch. The bottle of tears has not been poured out in vain. And now, what has been stored in sorrow is being released in joy. God is restoring the years the enemy tried to steal. And you will not just walk in healing, you will walk in honor. Michael whispers again, where shame once stood, I now place light. Where grief once lingered, I now release peace. Where tears once flowed, laughter will return. Beloved, you've walked through the shadows, but now the light is rising. You've endured the night. But now the morning is awakening. And now, what was sown in sorrow will rise in joy. Stay with me. There's more to unfold. And the next word will show you why your tears didn't just matter. They moved heaven. You almost didn't make it. But beloved, the sword of heaven was drawn before the flood ever came. There were moments you didn't talk about. Moments when you stood on the edge, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. Moments where it felt like the storm would swallow you whole. Betrayal broke your breath. Loss ripped through your chest like a thief in the night. You stared at empty bank accounts and wondered how you would survive the week. You lay awake in a dark room, begging God for one more reason to keep going. But you're still here, because heaven was not silent. You thought you were drowning, but Michael had already drawn the sword. Isaiah 59:19 declares, When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. And that standard wasn't a feeling, it was a force, a divine intervention, a heavenly warrior called to stand between you and what tried to end you. Archangel Michael whispers, The flood came for you, but it did not take you, because my sword was already in motion before the first wave hit. You thought no one saw what was happening, but angels were dispatched, heaven rallied, and the war in the unseen broke open because of your calling, not your failure. Let this sink in. The enemy came that hard because your destiny is that holy. The attacks weren't random, they were proof. Proof that something in you scared hell. Proof that something on you was marked by heaven. Michael continues, That betrayal, I stood over you when you couldn't lift your own voice. That diagnosis, I warred in silence as doctors spoke death. That breakdown, I kept your spirit intact while your body trembled. You survived what should have shattered you. You're walking after what should have buried you. You're breathing after what tried to suffocate your faith. This is no small thing. It was close, it was violent, it was terrifying, but it did not win. And that, beloved, is a testament to the one who kept you. You didn't escape the storm by chance. You were carried through it by covenant. Some storms didn't end, they simply shifted. And in that shift, you began to see what really happened. You didn't just survive, you were shielded. You didn't just get lucky, you were loved. This was divine warfare, and the scars you carry, they are not shameful, they are seals. Seals that testify, you were hit, but not destroyed. You were shaken, but not forsaken. You were wounded, but not disqualified, because the sword was drawn, because the standard was raised. Because the Spirit of God stood up when everything else tried to make you sit down in defeat. Michael reveals now, I stood where others left. I defended where others doubted. I believed in your rising when others gave up on your life. That car accident that should have taken you. The moment the pills were in your hand. The time you walked away from faith, but faith didn't walk away from you. Heaven stood still, and the sword was raised again. There are near-death memories in your history, but there are also near-breakthrough markers in your spirit. You may feel weak, you may feel weary, but listen closely. You are not broken, you are battle-tested. And the storm that tried to drown you only made your spirit stronger. Because now you know what survived. Now you know what couldn't be stolen. Now you know that when the waves came, something unshakable remained. Beloved, the enemy wanted to take your voice. But here you are, listening, standing, rising. God didn't just preserve your life, He positioned it. He didn't just defend you, He prepared you. And Michael says now, the place where the storm struck will be the place where the fire falls. Your trauma is being turned into testimony. Your scars are becoming signs. Your breakdown is now the birthplace of prophetic boldness. So breathe again. You are not who you were before the storm. You are wiser. You are deeper. You are wrapped in protection that cannot be seen but can be felt, even now. Something in you knows this is true. Your spirit is resonating. Your tears confirm it. Your heartbeat is responding. Say this out loud. I didn't drown. I didn't die. I was defended. Or comment boldly, the storm didn't win. I'm still here. Because as you declare it, healing accelerates. And beloved, hear me clearly, you will never fear that storm again. Why? Because it already came, and it already failed, and now, what was meant to bury you will build you. What was meant to shame you will send you. What was meant to end you will become the platform where you testify of God's mercy. You are not fragile. You are favored. You are not drowning. You are destined. And now that you've seen the worst and lived, nothing ahead can stop what's already been sealed. Stay close, because the next revelation will show you what heaven was really doing while you wept on the battlefield. And what's about to be exposed will silence every lie you believed about yourself. That number you keep seeing, that dream that woke you up with chills, that word someone spoke, that matched what you whispered in secret. Beloved, they're not coincidences. They are confirmations. Whispers from heaven, sent to remind you that you're not lost, not forgotten, and never walking blind. Romans 8:16 says, "The Spirit Himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children," which means this: God doesn't just move in power, He moves in patterns. He speaks through signs, dreams, moments, impressions. He testifies to your spirit when your mind is too weary to comprehend. And that gentle nudge you felt, that pattern that keeps showing up again and again, it's not your imagination, it's divine strategy. You are being led, not left. You are being guided, not gaslit. Michael speaks now with clarity. Those repeating numbers, those unexpected confirmations, those timely verses, they are not random, they are heaven's breadcrumbs, and you are being drawn deeper into the divine. You've asked God, is this you, or is this just me? You've second-guessed your spiritual instincts, you've doubted your dreams, you've talked yourself out of things you felt in your spirit because they didn't make sense in your mind. But listen, you were never meant to reason your way through the miraculous. You were meant to discern it. And discernment is rising in you now. The signs that have followed you, those numbers, those themes, those echoes of phrases have not been coincidence. They've been consistency, divine consistency, because God speaks not only through thunder, but through repetition. Michael reveals, when heaven begins to move, it confirms itself in clusters. One message becomes two, one moment becomes three, and before long, you are surrounded by affirmations that the path you're on is the one heaven is breathing on. You are not hallucinating hope, you are hearing God. He's been showing you what's coming through dreams. He's been warning you gently through interruptions. He's been marking time with divine patterns. But you didn't always know how to interpret it. So now, let this be your confirmation. Yes, it's Him. That dream about protection, it was him. That time you felt surrounded but safe, it was him. That number that keeps showing up when you're anxious? Yes, beloved, it's him. God doesn't hide truth from you, he hides it for you. Like treasure buried in field, waiting to be found by the one who seeks. And you've been seeking, even when you didn't realize it. The Spirit testifies with your spirit that you are loved, that you are guarded, that you are being led. Right now, Michael says, the signs were not a teaser, they were a trail, and the trail leads to what's about to unfold in your life. But here's what's important. You must stop dismissing what you feel. You must stop downgrading what your soul picks up. You must stop telling yourself you're making it up every time heaven gets close. Because your discernment is not defective, it's developing, it's becoming sharper, stronger, more anchored in truth. God is trusting you with more because you've learned to listen in the little things. So when you feel that tug in your chest, when you notice that word repeating in conversations, when that same verse shows up in a sermon, a TikTok, and a stranger's post all in one day, don't brush it off. Lean in. It's not coincidence, it's choreography, and heaven is leading the dance. The signs are not meant to confuse you, they're meant to comfort you, because in every repeated number, every timely whisper, every moment that made you pause, God was saying, I'm here, I see, I lead, I will. Michael blesses your spiritual senses now, your ears to hear, your eyes to see, your spirit to discern. He places his sword near your home, not to harm but to guard the revelation unfolding. And he speaks this blessing. Let what felt like mystery become movement. Let what was confusing now become confirmation. The fog lifts, and your spirit will know, you are not walking alone. Say this with me, Lord, help me see the signs. Help me trust what you're showing me. And if you've been seeing signs, post one in the comments, type it out, the number, the phrase, the verse, the dream. This is your space. This is your safe place. You are not the only one hearing heaven, and your confirmation might be someone else's breakthrough. Beloved, your discernment is not a liability, it's a gift. It's not meant to isolate you, it's meant to connect you, because heaven doesn't just send signs to inform, it sends them to invite you deeper, invite you higher, invite you home. So watch, because what's been repeating is about to reveal the next step, and when it does, you won't miss it. You've been prepared for this moment. And now, heaven's map is unfolding. Stay close, because what's next will show you how to step into it with full trust. You thought you were forgotten. You thought you were the one always waiting, always needing, always hoping for someone else to reach down and rescue you. But beloved, heaven says, you are the rescue, you are the answer to someone else's prayer, you are the miracle they've been crying out for. 1 Peter 2:9 says, but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. You are not just called out, you are called forward, not only to survive, but to shine, not just to be covered, but to cover others. Michael speaks now. What heaven placed inside you was never just for your own deliverance. It was for someone else's rescue too. Every step you've taken through the valley, every tear you've wept in the dark, every moment you almost gave up, but didn't, it's been forming something sacred inside you, a strength, a story, a spiritual fire that not only protects you, but begins to shield others near you. You may not even know their names yet. But someone is already being protected because of your obedience. That time you decided to pray instead of panic. It changed the atmosphere around your home. That moment you spoke a word of hope even while you were still hurting. It breathed courage into someone on the edge. That day you chose faith instead of fear. It sent ripples into the life of someone watching in silence. You are the answer. You are the living proof that pain doesn't win, that the enemy doesn't get the final word, that light breaks through. Michael says, when you rise, others follow. When you stand, others find the courage to kneel in surrender. When you lift your voice, even in trembling, you silence more darkness than you realize. You are not just being healed, you are being commissioned. This season you're walking through, it's not only about what God is doing in you, it's about what He's preparing to do through you. Heaven is turning your pain into power, your wounds into weapons of deliverance, your survival into strategy for someone else's breakthrough. You don't need a title, you don't need a microphone, you don't need a platform. All you need is willingness, and heaven sees that you've said yes, even through tears, even through delays, even when no one clapped for you or noticed. Beloved, God saw, and He says now, well done. Stay steady, keep standing, because there's someone, a friend, a sister, a son, a stranger, who is about to walk into your life carrying the same pain you once couldn't name, and you'll look them in the eyes and speak life with authority, because you'll recognize the battle and you'll carry the wisdom. Michael whispers, you are becoming the protector you once cried out for. Your presence will break chains, your prayers will shield the vulnerable, your healing will release healing, and your story will shatter shame. So don't minimize your survival. Don't underestimate the weight of your yes. Don't think for a moment that heaven hasn't noticed how you've kept walking even when you were bleeding. You are a guardian now, a covering, a breaker of chains, not because you feel strong, but because you stayed surrendered. You've been chosen, not just to be saved, but to be a sanctuary. Say this out loud. I am chosen, yes, you, chosen to rise, chosen to protect, chosen to break what once bound your family, chosen to carry the fire of heaven and not let it go out. Type it in the comments if you feel it in your spirit. I am chosen. And if this word is speaking to you, if you know someone else who's barely holding on, share this. Don't keep it to yourself, because just like someone prayed for you, someone is praying for them. Let heaven use you. Let this moment become a ministry. Let your obedience become someone else's escape. Michael says, your testimony is about to travel farther than your pain ever did. And now, may you be blessed with holy awareness, to see the people assigned to your voice, to recognize the hearts that need your scars, to walk boldly, knowing that even on your weakest day, God still calls you His vessel. You are not an echo of defeat. You are the sound of deliverance. The storm didn't end you. The silence didn't swallow you. The fire didn't consume you, because you were not only meant to survive, you were meant to send help. So rise now, with joy, with purpose, with power, because someone is waiting to hear what you've now overcome. Stay close. The next message will show you how heaven is still moving, even while you sleep. You've waited, you've prayed, you've hoped, sometimes with trembling hands, other times with nothing left but silence in your soul. You've watched the calendar turn. You've seen others move forward. You've wondered, did I miss it? Was it ever meant for me? But beloved, no more delay. Heaven is declaring, it is time. Isaiah 60:22 says, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." And now the time is right. The chains of delay are snapping, not gradually, but suddenly. Michael speaks. There were forces trying to block what was yours, assignments of resistance that stood in the unseen, but I tell you now, the sword has struck. The way is open. What looked like closed doors were actually divine barricades, holding back what you weren't yet ready to carry. It wasn't denial, it was protection. It was alignment, but now the alignment is complete. Heaven has shifted. The scrolls have been unsealed. The angelic assignments have been released. And what you thought would take years will now take days. Because when heaven moves, it moves fast. When the winds of God blow, they don't just stir the air. They break down walls. They accelerate what once crawled. Michael says, "You are stepping into a season of suddenlies. What was stuck will shift. What was waiting will arrive. What was circling will land." This is not random. It's not a coincidence. This is the moment the Spirit whispered about in your sleep. This is the fulfillment of the "not yet" that's now becoming right now. The enemy tried to convince you it was over. He tried to make delay feel like rejection. But he forgot something crucial. God's word never returns void, and what he spoke over you, he is watching to perform. Your name was not forgotten. Your file was not lost in heaven. The answer was not delayed because God was ignoring you. It was because the breakthrough had to arrive in the right condition, stronger, fuller, protected. Now, it's here. Michael says, "We've cleared the path. We've shattered the resistance. The chains in the Spirit have fallen. Now expect it. Now look for it. Now walk into it. You are not just being blessed, you are being accelerated. It will feel like a sudden phone call, a divine connection, an open door that wasn't even in your sightline yesterday. Provision, answers, reconciliation, movement, quickly. Even now the heavens are shifting gears on your behalf. Declare this aloud. Acceleration is in my house." Say it again, not with doubt, but with faith. Acceleration is in my house. You'll know it by the peace that suddenly replaces the panic. You'll feel it when conversations begin to turn. You'll sense it as things that were tangled begin to unravel with ease. The Spirit says, "No more striving, just stepping." Step into it. Step into the now you've been prepared for. The seeds you planted in tears, they're about to bloom in real time. Not in theory, not in metaphor, in your life, in your body, in your family. Get ready to move. Michael reminds you, when heaven says now, you don't need to knock twice. The door will already be open. So prepare your spirit, clear your heart, bless your household, expect the unexpected. Because what's arriving is not limited by logic, it's not bound by budget, it's not restrained by what people said, it's only governed by the timing of God. And beloved, that time is now. The wind that was against you has shifted behind you. What you dragged, you'll now glide through. Where you stumbled, you'll now soar. Acceleration is not chaos, it's divine timing unleashed. There is oil on your feet, there is fire behind your name, there is angelic presence clearing what tried to confuse and delay you. The delays are done. The glass ceiling has shattered. The hesitation that lived in your bones is being evicted. You will hear the voice of God clearly again. You will sense movement around you. You will begin to speak what heaven is showing you, and watch it manifest quickly. So stay alert. Stay sensitive. Don't dismiss the small things. Because small signs are leading to sudden shifts. Michael says, "We are escorting what was held back into your hands now." Be ready. Be positioned. Be expectant. Acceleration is not just a gift, it's a call. And your only job is to answer it. Say it once more. Acceleration is in my house. Type it in the comments if you receive it. Speak it over your children, your business, your health, your ministry. And if this word confirmed something you've been sensing, don't keep it to yourself, share it. Someone else is about to experience the same shift. Heaven is in motion, and beloved, what's coming won't knock twice. Be ready to open the door. Stay close, because what's next will carry you into peace that doesn't fade. You can rest now. You've walked through battlefields invisible to most eyes. You've endured delays, disruptions, and spiritual storms that threatened to undo you. But through it all, you remained, and heaven noticed. This moment, this stillness you're in right now, it is not emptiness. It is protection. It is peace. Sealed. Philippians 1:6 says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." That means what was started in you, the healing, the renewal, the restoration, it will not be left unfinished. You are not a half-built house. You are not a temporary project. You are a beloved vessel, guarded by glory. Michael speaks gently now. My sword still stands. My watch is not over. The seal has been set over your home, your mind, your body. What tried to break in has been denied. Yes, you are sealed in divine protection. This isn't symbolic. This is supernatural. A real shift has occurred. What tried to track you spiritually has now been stopped. What once whispered at your window now trembles at the gate. Not because you're strong on your own, but because you are covered by angels, surrounded by fire. Encased in the prayers of heaven, Michael continues, "Every place the enemy tried to leave a crack, heaven has poured in light. The holes are sealed, the gaps are filled. You are not exposed. You are not vulnerable. You are not forgotten. This isn't the end, but it is a pause. A holy, sacred pause to breathe. You are safe. You are loved. You are not alone. Say it aloud. Even if your voice trembles, I am safe. I am sealed." Let that be the lullaby that quiets your soul tonight. Let it echo in your bones. I am safe. I am sealed. This healing journey you've stepped into, it's still unfolding. The restoration is still flowing. But the foundation has been secured. You don't have to rush. You don't have to perform. You don't have to be perfect to remain protected. God's protection is not based on your strength, it's based on His covenant, and He does not break promises. So let peace come, not as a visitor but as a resident. Let it rest on your pillow. Let it wrap around your shoulders like a warm cloak. Michael reminds you, every time you return here, heaven leans in again. This place has become an altar, a meeting point between your heart and God's voice. Return tomorrow. Return every time the world feels too loud. Return when fear starts to knock again. Because here, you are reminded, you are sealed, you are safe, and more than that, you are still becoming whole, becoming strengthened, becoming bold. Even now, as you listen, something is settling in you. A holy stillness, a sacred knowing, a divine confidence that says, nothing can snatch me from His hand. John 10:28. You are no longer walking alone. You never were. But now you feel it. Now you know it. Now you believe it. Michael is still on assignment, not just for tonight, but for the days ahead. This is not a one-time encounter. This is an invitation to communion, to covering, to consistent peace. There will be more words, more revelations, more healing, because heaven is not done with you. No, beloved, heaven is just getting started. So sleep, not in fear of what's ahead, but in full faith of who goes before you. Breathe, not in anxiety, but in deep gratitude. The kind of gratitude that says, God, thank you for protecting me, even when I didn't know I was in danger. Thank you for sealing me, even when I felt exposed. Thank you for finishing what you start. Let your room become sanctuary. Let this night be holy. Let your heart feel held. You are not an orphan. You are not abandoned. You are not too late. You are not too much. You are not forgotten. You are sealed. Let every old label fall off. Let every wound begin to close. Let every fear shrink in the light of this truth. He who began a good work in me will complete it. So close your eyes tonight in peace. Not because everything is fixed, but because everything is held by God, surrounded by angels, signed and sealed by the blood of the Lamb. And as you sleep tonight, let this remain: you are not just protected, you are sealed. This protection is not based on emotion, it is backed by eternity. It does not fade with the sunrise, it does not weaken with time. It is renewed every time you return. And that's the whisper now. Return, not in pressure, not in duty, but in love, in trust, in rhythm. Return tomorrow. Return every time the world grows cold. Return every time your soul longs for peace. Because this covering, this divine protection, it is your inheritance. And heaven is waiting to meet you here, again and again. This is just the beginning. Return tomorrow, and every time you need covering, you are safe here.